First story is titled, Girlfriend named our son after her ex. I'm refusing to sign the birth certificate until she changes it. This is our first child and he was born a few days ago. We've been together for 4 years and he wasn't really planned, as I don't believe we're in a stable enough position to have children. She was supposedly on a pill, as neither of us like the feel of condoms, but that's another story. She dated a guy for about 8 years and he was her first boyfriend. The story is that they drifted apart and he ended it, but she was still in love with him. We met a few months later and we were friends before we started dating. I got the impression that she was never really over him at the start of the relationship, but it seemed she moved on after the years. And when he moved back to our city 2 years ago, she didn't seem fazed. We met him twice and there didn't seem to be anything weird going on, so I assumed she was completely over him. When we discovered she was pregnant, it was her decision to keep it. I said we weren't ready for children yet, as we weren't married and didn't own a place yet, but she was adamant on keeping it. We argued back and forth over names, and went through various, okay, we have 5 vetoes each, but around 2 months ago, we settled on a name that we were both happy with. The baby is born, everyone smiles, and we're finally back home. It's time to register the birth, and I need to sign the birth certificate. However, to my surprise, the baby isn't called the name we agreed upon, but the same name as her ex. Not just the same name, but the same middle name as well, and then our surnames, after we agreed we'd use both our surnames and forgo the use of a middle name. I couldn't blow my top, of course, as she's still recuperating at home, plus there's this whole worldwide mess going on, so I should be happy all 3 of us are back home and safe. I did, however, ask her about it. She said that it was just a spur-of-the-moment thing, or she'll fob me off by saying she's too exhausted to talk about it. She's been fobbing me off for a few days now, so in the end, I told her calmly that I'm not signing the birth certificate until we change the name back to what we agreed. This caused a bit of a row with her, and she's now refusing to talk to me until I sign the certificate and agree to the name. I'm at somewhat of a loss here as what to do. I didn't want a child in the first place, but I was browbeaten into going along with it, and now the name we agreed on is taken away from me? And to add insult to injury, she's named the boy after her ex. And I'm now plagued with doubt and wondering if I should get a paternity test, or whether she's still in love with him. Now for the top comments. 100% get a paternity test. I don't want to disrespect your girlfriend, but it's freaking crazy to name a kid after her ex. Is she okay? Is she suffering from postnatal depression or anything? Not just first name, first and second names. Paternity test all the way. Yeah, this would be completely bonkers, even if she had totally cheated and it was the ex's kid. It's just a screaming banner that says, I'm obsessed with my ex and / or cheating, which is extraordinarily weird. Something is very wrong here. And if it's cheating, it also goes way beyond cheating. It appears you know what you need to do, so if it helps, here it is. 1. Get a paternity test. 2. Get tested for STDs. 3. Do not sign until the name is changed and you are identified as the father via paternity test. In the end, you'll need to ask yourself if this is the type of relationship you want, because if she is this controlling and manipulative now, it will only get worse. This is the best advice. My opinion? Count it as a blessing that she's refusing to talk to you. Sort of reminds me of the time my cousin, as a child, got mad at her mom and shouted, "Fine then, I'll just go to my room." My mom and her mom looked at each other and were like, okay. Sounds like she thought the baby name line was where she was supposed to put the bio father's name. You should also get a paternity test before you sign the birth certificate to avoid any future issues. At this point, she's done absolutely nothing to indicate that it's your kid, and it almost seems like she's trying to subconsciously tell you it's not. You know, I wonder if that's what could have happened. Maybe she simply wasn't thinking and added the real father's name and passed it off as a child's name to try and hide a mistake. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom she can't come into my house and meet her first grandchild after driving 12 hours? My mom is a textbook narcissist. She's great with babies and stayed home with my brothers and I. But the second we got a little older and could start thinking more independently or didn't need her as much, she started to be verbally and emotionally abusive. She's extremely insecure, mean, bitter, and has tried to break my spirit my entire life. I'm sure she loves us, but her mom was even worse than she was. So she only knows how to be insecure and spiteful. And I'm at a point in my life where I've accepted we will never have a relationship, and she will never be able to give me what I need. She moved 12 hours away once my parents divorced, and we see her maybe 1 to 3 times a year, usually because there's some type of wedding or graduation, but hardly just because or just to spend time. She now has a new boyfriend who is the ultimate family man, super into his children and grandchildren. So now my mom is trying to paint this "I'm a great mom and my children and I have the best relationship" picture to him and all her Facebook friends. Well, I just gave birth to a beautiful baby boy, and we've set rules due to COVID. My mom never offered to come help me, and I refuse to have anyone who doesn't make me feel comfortable or will help me sitting at my house for hours while I try to bond with my new baby, learn to breastfeed, and recover from postpartum. I set these expectations with my mom, and she kept hinting that she wanted to drive up for 24 hours just to see the baby right after she's born, and then leave and come back in a few weeks. I told her no, and if she did, she will not be let into my house. Just wanted to add, of course, she wanted to come see the baby and not help me at all. She just wants her picture and to tell her friends and boyfriend she was there when the baby was born. Anyway, a week postpartum, she showed up at my house wanting to come in and see the baby. Could have been hormones or just me being fed up with her or both, but I refused to let her in my house and told her she needs to respect my boundaries and can't just walk all over me, and I didn't let her in. I want to do everything different for my baby and be a better mom to him than I had, and I felt like this was the first time I've ever stood up to her. My family supports my decision, but of course, this just started another war with my narcissistic mother. So, am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your house, your baby, your rules. Your mother just wants to make her Facebook friends believe she is a supportive grandmother. True that. She is the definition of a Facebook mom. Not the a-hole. She refused to accept your plainly stated boundaries and thought she could manipulate you if she turned up in person. She was abusive growing up and only has an interest now because you serve a purpose in that she can use you and your child to look good. She has no place in your life and will only bring stress and toxicity. Thank you. Not the a-hole. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. She lost. I'm going to use that. Thank you, haha. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not being there for my daughter's birth for the sake of my mental health? I, 38 male, have bipolar disorder. I was officially diagnosed when I was 34 after years of denial and ineffective coping. A year later, I got on medication and my wife, 40 female, and I got married. However, a year after that, I realized that while my meds moderated the highs and lows, I felt that my job required a lot of creativity, and the meds were stifling that part of me. Around the time my wife got pregnant with our first daughter, it was her first pregnancy at 38 and was a stressful one. She gained an alarming amount of weight, and she'd yelled at me when I said she was at risk for getting gestational diabetes, even though I merely paraphrased the doctor's words. It turned out to be a 20-hour labor, and when my wife said forceps were her worst fear, a nurse yelled at her. After seeing what they were doing with the forceps, I got lightheaded and threw up and needed to lay down. That birth experience caused me to barely be able to eat or take my meds. 2 years later, my wife got pregnant again. The stress of her going on maternity leave caused my emotions to go haywire. My wife tried to comfort me, but when I look at her, I don't see the girl I fell in love with, and I couldn't look at her the same anymore. This month, she suggested a vacation with her to our cabin up north. I drove up first, but her mom called and said she didn't feel well enough to travel. After the ensuing fight, I texted my therapist and she said to take some time for myself. So, I have been at our cabin for a little more than a week. My mother-in-law calls me 2 days ago to tell me my wife went into labor early. This made me instantly nauseous because I just kept imagining the gruesome, disgusting sights from the last time. And I feared what would happen to me mentally if I ended up having to relieve it all. I didn't know the baby would come so early, and I could feel my head spinning. I had been slowly going off my meds since our 2-year-old was born, and by the time my wife got pregnant again, my doctor has been trying to sell me on med adjustments, which I hate even more. I realized the only thing I could control right now is my environment, and a delivery room wasn't one I could handle. So I ended up staying at the cabin for the rest of the night and through the next morning. My mother-in-law sent me an angry text saying that my wife needed an emergency C-section after 13 hours, and that words can't express both of their rage at me not being there. But then added that she was sure I would have screwed things up. Now I'm driving back, even though my wife screamed at me over the phone that she didn't want me to visit her in the hospital. She also said she rejected naming the baby after her mom instead of what we decided on. Am I the a-hole when even my mother-in-law admitted I would have been no help and might have actually passed out this time around? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole. You let this entire pregnancy go by without coming up with a plan for the birth? You should have been working on coping mechanisms or a plan for someone else to support her. Instead, you ghosted her. Edit. And holy hell, I forgot to mention the comments about her gaining weight, her maternity leave stressing you out, and her not being the girl you fell in love with anymore because she got pregnant. What a horrible way to treat your partner. Not only that, he didn't realize the baby would come that early. How could anyone be that ignorant? You made a choice not to support your wife through a very traumatic experience and missed the birth of your daughter. You're the a-hole. I've never been in the room during a birth, but can't he just focus on her face or something? Why was he even looking at the forceps if it bothers him so much? When my future wife, fingers crossed, single right now, is pregnant, fingers crossed, my plan was to hold her hand and look at her face. That way I'm being supportive and don't have to say anything too medical-ish. You're the a-hole. You had the option of medication, but chose to prioritize creativity over being a supportive partner and parent. You could have managed your condition and avoided this crisis. Yep, not to mention, for the most part, we're just as creative on the meds as off them. So that's a nonsense cop-out. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for letting my sister adopt my unborn baby rather than a friend who wants a baby? This is a little complicated. My girlfriend and I are 19, and despite all the protection we use, she still somehow got pregnant. My older sister, 34, practically raised me. Our parents were absent most of her childhood and all of mine. Our older brother looked after us. Anyway, I literally call her mom. We're that close. She calls me her firstborn. She's got 3 legal sons, all adopted. They're basically my younger brothers and I love them to death. So, naturally I called her when we found out about the pregnancy. She calmed us down and explained our options. We knew we did not want to be parents, but my girlfriend said she didn't really want a termination, but didn't want another child to go into the system. Anyway, scheduled an appointment to get the baby vamoosed when my sister called again. She said she would adopt our baby if we really didn't want to go through with the termination. Yada yada, that was 3 months ago. A few friends started asking about names last week when we eventually told them, and we basically explained that we weren't keeping the baby. A friend of ours, M, 21, has been trying for a baby with her husband for 2 years. We knew, but didn't think much of it. She contacted us asking what we're doing with the baby. I explained that my older sister was going to adopt them. I guess she found my sister through my Instagram or something, and angrily messaged us that she already has 3 kids, and we should think about mothers who can't have children and want one. At this point, we realized what the issue was, and I explained that her children were adopted and she hasn't had them as babies, and we want to keep baby in the family. She didn't reply, but one of her and my girlfriend's mutual friend messaged me asking if I'd reconsider. I told her no, this baby was going to my sister. Em messaged me, again, and basically said it was so hard to find a white baby, and practically begging to reconsider. I'm biracial, white passing. My sister is not. I got angry and told her I didn't want some white girl stripping another child of their culture, then sent her on her way. It's divided our friends. Some think that she was racist, and some think she's just desperate for a baby. My sister says we can do what we want with the baby, but her home is always open. I think the baby should still go to my sister, but my girlfriend was really affected by Em's words and is concerned that we could be giving a young woman what she desperately wants. We have months to decide, but I'm torn. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. M is for this. M messaged me, again, and basically said it was so hard to find a white baby, and practically begging to reconsider. I'm biracial, white passing. My sister is not. You and your girlfriend should do what's best for the baby. No pity or guilt. What is objectively best for the child? I personally think that if your sister is as great as she sounds, it'll be best for the child and for you and your girlfriend if you decide to be a part of the child's life in the future with her approval. My sister is amazing. I love her so much, and I know the baby will grow up well loved. Not the a-hole. Someone who wants to adopt a white baby but not a black baby doesn't deserve any baby. You also want to keep the baby in the family. It is your baby right now, and will always be your baby, even when your sister takes over caring for them. It's great that you have the option to be able to keep your baby in the family, so they can still get to know you and be a part of your family unit. Haha, explaining family history to this baby when they get older is going to be fun. I'm your older brother, dad and uncle. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.